So far we've had lots of old people up here. Not me, of course, but so this is just to kind of rebalance that a little bit. We've got a series of 6 younger people here to talk to us about their views about social marketing. We have a bit of a mix of specific country focuses and more kind of general views. So what I think we're going to be hearing over the next hour are some kind of a bit of irreverence, hopefully. We want that from youth. That's your job, as well as being challenging. So I'm really looking forward to this. The panelists for today, our 6 here are, and first, and we're going to go more or less in this order, Zimana Ahmed from Bangladesh, Fiona Spotswood from the UK, Ross Gordon from Australia via Scotland, Melissa Blair from Canada, Jennifer Dooley, Australia via Canada, and Ariadne Kapatanaki, UK via Greece. Okay, so pretty international panel as well. The way we're going to do this is we'll have 2 speakers, and then we'll have a few questions, 2 more speakers, questions, 2 more speakers, and then some questions. And then if we've got some time left, we'll have a kind of a general discussion with the group. So without further ado, can we give a hand for our first presenter, Zimana Ahmed from Bangladesh. Thank you.
Hello everyone, I welcome you all. I am Zimana Ahmed from Bangladesh, and I would like to take this opportunity to thank everyone who made it possible for me to come here and speak. And well, I may be new in this field of social marketing, but my country, Bangladesh, has been a world leader in this field since before I was born, actually. So social marketing has helped and is still helping my country to transform. For example, in 1970s, organization like BRAC used social marketing, and the SMC Bangladesh is considered to be the largest privately managed not-for-profit social marketing organization in the world for one single country, which started in 1973. And the major programs of SMC that includes family planning, child survival, maternal and child health, STD or AIDS prevention. And SMC has proven to how marketing can engage in solving issues by being a sustainable company. The rationale behind their success is their structure of the business, which can be divided into 3 wings. First is manufacturing. Under this, they do manufacturing, warehousing, and packaging. The second is business. They have 14 products under business, and they sell these products and make profits. And the third is the program, where they sell 4 products in subsidized rates. The challenges that we face is it's very common, like other countries face, is to measure the gap between distribution and products usage, because it's typically thought that the amount sold is the amount used properly by the user, but whereas in the real world, the thing is not like this. And so the challenges we face is basically how do we close this gap between intention and behavior, and how do we reduce wastage and increase efficiency of programs. For future opportunities, I think in Bangladesh there is good future opportunities in social marketing. Day by day there are new programs being introduced and with the traditional ones, and it's well accepted even in rural areas. And digital communication have started to have a big impact. For example, people can subscribe and receive health tips in their cell phones. And we can hope in future that, I think, because with the advancement of technology and positive acceptance by people, social marketing will have a bigger impact in our society. And I would like to thank once again everyone. And if you have any question, you can ask right after Fiona's presentation. Thank you.
Just waiting for my slides. Okay, so I'm going to just launch straight in. The complexity of many social problems means that the future of behaviour change is interdisciplinary. In fact, it's transdisciplinary, where different disciplines focus on shared goals rather than on their own specific background. I'm in absolutely no doubt that social marketing has a really important part to play in the future of behaviour change in this transdisciplinary future, but it needs to stop being dismissed. And in the UK, that's often the case. It's often considered to be trendy, but a bit ineffectual, and a discipline of shallow, woolly thinkers. Now, that's not fair, but it's worth unpicking why we sometimes have that reputation. Certainly if we want to be part of this transdisciplinary future. So if I could have my first slide, which I do. No, the first slide, sorry. Thanks. So the first problem is with evidence. Word on the street is that social marketing has a poor, unscientific evidence base. And I think there are a few reasons for this. First of all, our practice-based evidence, in the form of case study write-ups, doesn't often make it into top-ranked journals, the ones with the highest impact, the ones that are read by other disciplines, particularly the disciplines which have a rigorous history, a heritage of measurement and four-star publication. I also think there's a disconnect between practice and academia in social marketing. Certainly in the UK, many practitioners doing social marketing have no academic grounding in it. So often interventions tend to be a little bit shallow, evaluation can be a bit flimsy, and if there is a publication that comes out of it, it's certainly not going to make it into a decent journal. And also, even though we build evaluation into our planning processes, in reality, budgets are tight, timescales are tight, and too much demand is made on instant responses straight after an intervention. And so evaluations can be really token. And even when we do evaluate, we never talk about what went wrong. And I also think our evidence base has suffered with the credit crunch. I mean, a lot of the academics I work with in the UK are being forced to accept rather humdrum consultancy to pay the bills. They don't have the opportunity to be innovative and to pursue funding opportunities for really good research that can, again, make it into those top-ranked journals and get our discipline recognised by other disciplines and policymakers. And finally, I do think our reputation as serious thinkers of behaviour change is threatened by some of the agencies who do very visible, fizzy, and fluffy social marketing, which often scratches the surface of the complexity of behavioural problems. I'm with Jeff Jordan on this, and so are British policymakers. These agencies have creative flair, which washes really well with commissioning practitioners, but it's seen through by policymakers and other academics. Secondly, we need to focus much more on innovation and less on ring-fencing our discipline. That's right, it's time to move on, beyond definitions, beyond labels on what we've been doing, and focus on what we need to do in the future to make a real contribution to transdisciplinary behaviour change practice. Let's stop defining, stop labelling. It's a distraction, and quite honestly, it makes us look a bit paranoid and insecure. We need to focus on theoretical innovation. As Craig Lefay put it yesterday, the solution you come up with depends on how you frame the problem. His focus was on the market, mine tends to be on culture, but whatever, let's move on beyond individual victim blaming. Let's realise, eventually, that A, there's only so much you can do to persuade people, B, that, as we saw from Brian Wansink, people don't know what influences their behaviours. And C, there are many routes to changing behaviour, changing society, like culture change and policy change. But what's important is that the tools marketing gives us won't necessarily be enough to make a dent in complex societal problems. But they could help. They're likely to help. But we need to team up with other disciplines, and we need to get them to respect us. And finally, we have to be more actively critical of commercial marketing. Gerard Hastings wrote that social marketing is considered to be a gentle herbivore, fighting against the Tyrannosaurus of commercial marketing. And apart from a few vocal critics, social marketers tend to leave commercial marketers alone to get on with their manipulating, behavioural conditioning, viral infiltration of our minds and cultures. All we do is acknowledge some of their work as competition. It's competing with our behavioural goals. Meanwhile, they're busy kneecapping their competitors and pulling out all the stops just to make that little bit extra profit. Jim Mintz asked yesterday, what is so wrong with marketing? And as a discipline, nothing. But as a practice, it just provides too much of the landscape for our obese, car-obsessed, materialistic, fizzy drink guzzling, tobacco-addicted, binge-drinking lives for us to ignore it. So I say, less fizz and more fight. Thank you.
I told you it was going to be good. Okay, we'll take a couple of questions now. So we've got some mics, I think. So if I can see you. Any hands up? Comments? Questions? They won't bite. Okay, it's on here.
Hi, this question's for Zimana. I'm just wondering, what are the 4 products that Social Marketing Bangladesh produces that are subsidized?
The products are like contraceptives and condoms. So there are a few brands of those. So these are the products they sell in subsidized rates. Okay.
Just stay here because the mic's on. Yeah, okay. Okay, yeah, got one here.
Fiona, how do we find the good guys in commercial practice?
There are no good guys in commercial practice. I'm not being facetious, but commercial practice is driven entirely by profit. Of course it is. That's why they get up in the morning. That's why they go to work. It's all about profit. It's a culturally ingrained process. I'm
going to invite you to ICE.
Okay.
That's a commercial practice.
Okay. I'm talking more about Coca-Cola.
Okay, yeah. Sorry. I was thinking about agencies and sort of, yeah.
Okay.
Coke with ice.
Nice.
Okay.
Coca-Cola?
we do have somebody here from Coca-Cola.
Excellent.
And if they'd like to speak now, this would be a great time. Yeah, we've got a question over here.
Well said, though, Fiona.
To take this provocativeness a bit more, where do you think the funding for social marketing eventually originates? Without profits, we have no taxes. Without taxes, we have no funding. Profits are not a bad thing. I don't get it.
No,
Fiona.
profits are not a bad thing. I agree. What is a bad thing is when profits become, they supersede every other kind of responsibility that an organisation has.
One more. Yeah.
Fiona, it was an interesting point that you raised about the publication side of it and getting the balance between doing work and doing research that will be paid for perhaps by an industry partner or a consultancy and then getting published in journals. And I can appreciate, particularly for younger academics who want tenure, who want promotion, the challenge of getting those high quality journals is absolutely critical. So I'm wondering, what is your strategy for publishing in 3- and 4-star journals while still balancing the relevance side of an impact of your research?
My personal strategy is to look at journals like the Journal of Business Ethics, which is a 3-star journal, and move more into critical marketing. I still am a huge supporter of social marketing journals and will continue to try and publish in them. But for the progression of my career, I need to look at journals which are 3- and 4-star. You've got to play the game.
Okay. Pragmatic youth as well. Okay, we're going to move on now. Thank you so much. Fantastic. So our next 2 speakers are Ross Gordon, first of all, and then Melissa Blair. Thanks very much, Ross.
Thanks, Jeff. I was just saying to Fiona, she's done my job for me because she's pretty much said the same things that I'm going to say, maybe in a different way. But anyway, 5 minutes, 3 slides, and making sure you still understand my Glaswegian accent. It's a challenge, but here goes. Okay, so I'm going to talk about 3 ways that I'd like to see social marketing develop as we move forward as a discipline, and I believe that we are a discipline, not a technology. And the first of those is to be critical. I think that in social marketing, we need to engage more with what William Laser and Eugene Kelly introduced way back in the 70s when they defined social marketing as not only using marketing principles to influence behaviour at the individual level, but also to critique marketing's impact on society. And there are people working in this area of social marketing looking at the critical impact that commercial marketing has, but it's a kind of smaller pool of research, and I think that we need to really engage with this a lot more, because commercial marketing does have an impact on a lot of the behaviours that we're trying to influence. And also by unpicking not only what happens with marketing's influence in society, but how and why it happens, can help us with our critical competitive analysis. If you look at the social marketing benchmark criterion, competition is one of the sort of, it's not the most commonly looked at of the benchmarks. We don't really think about what are the competitions to the behaviour that we're trying to influence. And, looking at how commercial marketing acts and operates is a big part of completing that picture. And then finally, and I think this is really important, but something probably that's the least developed of these 3 points in social marketing, is to be critically reflexive. Thinking about what we are doing, what impact we are having as actors in the social marketing process, what we're doing when we're trying to apply models and theories and technologies unthinkingly without actually unpicking them and deconstructing them. Okay, we know that there are good ideas in commercial marketing, but they don't just apply straight into and slot into neatly social marketing. We need to actually think critically about how these might operate. The second point leads into what Fiona talked about earlier about being innovative. And I think, again, we need to do more in this domain. There's a need for social marketing to modernise. We tend to take older models from the past and try and use them over and over again in social marketing. We're probably a lot of us fed up about reading about the theory of planned behaviour over and over again. Where is our theory creation in social marketing? We need to engage with this. We need to develop and embrace new and existing theories and concepts. And again, that relates to us building the discipline and being more respected by other disciplines. If we can gain that respect, then we can work with them towards social change. And finally, I think we need to make sure we don't limit ourselves to the confines of the past. So we keep having these debates about the 4 Ps and whether we can rebadge other dimensions like lobbying and advocacy under that 4P framework. Well, the issue I have with that is that if someone's taking that off the shelf as a practitioner, they're not going to know how to try and advance those interpretations. So we need to actually be careful about how we package the activities and strategies we use. And then the final point I wanted to talk about was to really encourage people to think and act strategically in social marketing. Social marketing, in most of the literature, is dominated at the downstream level at individual behaviour change, but that's just a tiny part of the picture in terms of influencing behaviour and social change. We need to be operating at all the different levels. That's downstream, that's midstream, so in workplaces and communities and social networks, upstream at the policy and regulation and environmental and structural influences on behaviour. And also we need to apply marketing principles to that. I've lost sight of the number of times that public health experts lecture politicians about what they should do because they're the experts. Well, politicians do know the evidence is out there, but they have another range of needs and wants and motivators and barriers to their behaviour. Why aren't we applying that marketing thinking and trying to do research and gain insight on what can influence their behaviour? We need to do more in that area. And then also, as I introduced in the first slide, we need to be operating at the critical level. And I think that until we start joining up these 4 dimensions and act strategically in social marketing, there's only a limit to what we can do in terms of behaviour change. Thanks.
So my name is Blair, and as a young Canadian social marketer, I'm more than excited to welcome all these international experts here to Canada. So now you've been here about 3 or 4 days, and I'm wondering, and maybe some of you have actually visited in the past, I'm wondering if there's something you've noticed about Canadians. As a nation, there's over 33 million of us, and we generally are pretty friendly. We've upheld this reputation to usually be pretty polite. And dare I say it, as marketers, whether it's the programs behind it or the actual promotions, sometimes I think we might just be a little vanilla. So I'm here to talk to you about creative bravery, about making those big and bold creative decisions. It's been proven both in commercial marketing and social marketing efforts around the world that if you're willing to make bold decisions, whether it's your theory, the program, or the actual promotions of your program, there's a direct relationship with the return on investment and the increased market share. So today, I really encourage you to go back and to take that creative bravery, to find your chocolate sauce, and then to find your sardines. So the next point I want to talk about is, as social marketers, we do a really, really good job of finding out who is our target audience. We determine who we want to talk to, we segment them and dissect them, and we determine exactly who we want and why we want to talk to them. Today I want to talk a little bit bigger picture about generational cohorts and generations of change. So generate change. So Generation X, these are the post-baby boomers. So we've been able to determine them now as our young parents or our yummy mummies. And we've done a really good job of determining who these folks are and how we can market to them. They tend to be a little bit skeptical of marketing messages, so it's really important for us to be honest. The next generation is Generation Y, which I happen to fall into, but believe me, there's no bias when I say this. That we tend to be known as actually to be extremely sophisticated and technologically savvy. But as millennials, as we are also called, we've also been known to be lazy and to be thought of that we're entitled. So the idea that start as an intern on Monday and you're CEO by Friday. Not that I've ever had that thought. So with this group, and a theme that we've seen across the conference, it's really important that we co-create, that we involve them and engage them in our programs and in our changes. But I don't even want to talk about either of these generations today. I want to talk about Generation Z, who I think that we have not even taken a moment to think about yet. These are the ones that are born 1995 and beyond. They've grown up solving their math problems on iPads. They've experienced the woes of both friendship and bullying on social network sites. When they were born, everyone already had an email address. Everyone has a mobile phone. And so they trust online media. So I encourage us to think about who's coming up. The future of social marketing is part of how we actually interact and recreate with Generation Z. Participation is the new persuasion, and I argue that augmented reality is the new reality. My final point I want to make today, and I hope I don't insult too many people with this, is I'd like to ask a question. How many of us yesterday were able to get in, and please show your hands, the 30 to 60 minutes of daily physical activity? A few of us? Awesome. And how many of us in here were able to resist the afternoon snack yesterday, those cookies under the heat lamps that made them all gooey and chewy? Able to resist those? A few hands? Okay. So the reason I ask this is that we all know, every single one of us in here knows how difficult behavior change is. And whether we're here promoting emergency preparedness, environmental awareness, or physical activity, we're all here trying to create a change, and it's extremely difficult. So I encourage you, as we go back and we work on our programs and through our processes, that take time to reflect, to look in the mirror and say, what I'm asking of other people, would I do this? Is the program that I'm trying to initiate people to start and to take the next step, would I actually do that? And I think we can find some creative insights and some behavioral insights in thinking and reflecting ourselves and really reflecting on what you're asking. So I'll leave you today with from 33 million to 1 is that creative bravery and sardines. Find your creative bravery. That augmented reality is the new reality. And finally, let's practice what you preach. Thank you.
Okay, fantastic. Okay, a couple of questions, points or comments? Yeah, we've got one here. Yeah. Yes, we've got a mic coming.
Hello, thank you. So my question is going to Fiona and to Ross. What role do you think the social marketing is playing in the green economy paradigm shift? So either integral economy or whatever economy you want to call it.
Not much, actually. We know that social marketing is predominantly used in health behaviour change, and I think that's an issue. We need to expand the boundaries of social marketing, again, to prove it's more than just a technology, it's a discipline. There are little pockets of research going on. I'm trying to use social marketing to encourage sustainable behaviours and energy efficient behaviours and so on, but there's not a great deal out there at the moment. The problem is the funding. The model's not being proved in that context. But if we can, establish, reliable theories and become, considered as a more serious discipline generically, then I think maybe the funding might start coming on stream.
I was just going to say a very similar thing. I do a fair amount of teaching on environmental sustainability courses, sort of as a guest lecturer, and I have to hide the fact that I'm, deep down I'm a social marketer, because they don't respect social marketing. I sneak it in into my lectures, and it's the same problem that I was talking about, that we don't have yet the established sort of respect by environmental fields for social marketing. In some cases, I'm sure, but it's certainly an area that I think we can develop in a lot more.
Okay. One more
Can I just
comment?
quickly comment?
That's
Just
it,
really
yeah.
fast. I'm also working on the environmental field, and a guy from 350.org, actually, when I said I'm coming here, he asked me, I would really like to know how social and marketing do work together. And basically, I definitely agree with what you said right now. Sometimes you really need to hide from which field you come, because you're not respected.
Okay. Thanks for that. Yeah, we've got a question here.
Hi, I'm happy for anyone to chip in on this one. I wonder if we're beating ourselves up a bit too much here, if we're being a bit too critical of ourselves, and whether we're not being quite critical enough of other disciplines. So we know what we're doing is good. We know what some other disciplines are doing isn't always so good. Shouldn't we be taking the fight to them rather than trying to apologetically slip in with social marketers?
Okay. Anyone want to respond to that? Anybody from the panel?
Sorry, I wouldn't agree with that. I think that, we're not critically reflexive. I think that a lot of the publishing in social marketing and the thinking in social marketing has been positivist, and we don't really reflect and, sort of think deeply about what we're doing and how to develop the field. I know that in the other environment, for example, to get government funding or government support, we need to take that positive message. But and in terms of the academic understanding and the theories and the concepts that we need to use in that practitioner side, we need to be more critically reflexive. Otherwise, other disciplines, they have gone through that process. They have developed, that way, but we haven't done that yet.
Okay. I think at that point we're going to carry on. Just a request from me, really, to Melissa. I'll ask the audience. Anybody from Generation Z here? Okay. Well, next time you can help me. We'll do a Generation Z panel. Okay. That'll be the aim. I'll get some real insights. The most sensible one. Yeah. Okay. So our next two panel speakers are Jennifer Dooley and Ariadne Kapatanaki. So we'll go with. Jennifer first. Thanks very much.
Okay, hello everyone. Thank you for inviting me here to speak today. I've been working on a PhD focused on the role of social media and its impact on the discipline of social marketing for the last 3 years. So what I want to talk to you today about is more of sort of a general overview of this field, and I know we've talked a lot about it over the last few days. So the first question that I have here is something I was asked when I first began research in the area. And basically that question is Web 2.0 or social media relevant for social marketing? So I'm just going to show you a couple of slides about some current research in that area. So right now, the Facebook would be considered the third largest country in the world because of its membership. We are getting news on social media now. We can just take a look at some of the tweets last week about the Boston Marathon, and that will illustrate now that The news is finding us on our mobile phones and on our computers, and we're no longer having to search for it. Youth are now learning on iPads. Slowly, chalkboards and other more traditional ways of learning are becoming obsolete. Individuals are joining social media sites at a very fast pace. So this is just an example from LinkedIn. And if Wikipedia were turned into a book, we probably wouldn't be able to read it during our lifetime. YouTube, there is 72 hours of video that are being uploaded each minute as we are speaking right now. It is the second largest search engine in the world. So as Professor Qualman, who is a researcher out of the Halt International Business School, would say, right now we're at a point where we don't have a choice on whether we do social media or Web 2.0, but the question is how well we do it. And I think that this is something very important to consider for the field of social marketing. So the next slide that I have here is just to talk a little bit about who is using Web 2.0 and for what purposes. And the main point that I want to make here is that Web 2.0 there is not one recipe for success on this platform. It is constantly changing. People are engaging in it in very different ways. And there is always new platforms that are being introduced on the internet. Early on, it was youth that were using social media and Web 2.0 sites. Now, about the average age of a Twitter and Facebook user is 40 years of age. So it's shifting very dramatically. And individuals are going to different platforms for different reasons. So almost half of the people that are on Twitter are going there to search for news. Something like Facebook is very different. So individuals are engaging in these platforms in different ways. And they are engaging in these platforms for health. So some recent research that we've conducted, we found out that individuals 18 to 44 years of age, if they're looking for health information on the internet, they're visiting Twitter and they're visiting Facebook. Younger audiences are actually more likely to go onto YouTube to find health information than older audiences. But if older audiences who are over the age of 55 years of age are going to create their own health profile, they're actually more likely to do that on a blog. So the main point that I wanted to make with this slide is that Mike Kajowski made a very good point yesterday, and he was saying that everyone is now starting to pay attention to social media and Web 2.0. But it's not necessarily the big shiny jacket in the corner, and there isn't a one-size-fits-all approach. So I think we have a wealth of information and discipline that we have developed in social marketing about how to plan campaigns accurately by using unique target audiences, determining what platforms they're using, and I think we can actually borrow a lot from our past to plan campaigns and not necessarily use a one-size-fits-all approach. And my last slide here is talking specifically about the discipline of social marketing. So how are social marketers using Web 2.0? Some of the research that we've done recently, we interviewed experts in social marketing who had actually used Web 2.0 or social media for their campaigns. And as well as through some additional academic research, we found that social media and Web 2.0 platforms are very conducive to the principles of social marketing. So it is really just another way to communicate with a target audience, and there is the ability for social marketers to be able to express all principles on the platform of Web 2.0. The difficulties that we did see, though, is that there is often a lack of coordination, so not all social marketing principles are expressed in each campaign that are done on Web 2.0. And we are facing some difficulties with figuring out how to measure success. So I just wanted to bring up this slide to basically say that there is strengths and there is weaknesses in using Web 2.0 channels to plan and measure the success of our campaigns. But I also think that we are at a critical point where we need to share our learnings with one another, share the strengths that we experience with using these channels for our campaigns, and also address the weaknesses and come up with some key solutions and best case studies to address how to use Web 2.0 for social change, because I think it offers, it has an incredible opportunity for us to reach key target audiences. Thank you very much.
Hi, my name is Ariadne, and today I'm here to raise the importance of using social marketing in countries that face economic recession, like my country, Greece. So, the last few years, many Eurozone countries, such as Ireland, Greece, Spain, Portugal, Italy, Cyprus, are in an economic recession. And I'm talking about countries that, within their affluence, had to deal with problems like obesity and non-communicable diseases, mostly caused from unhealthy diets, alcohol consumption, and tobacco. But now, along with these issues, they have to deal with other problems like poverty, suicides, pollution, and violence, and many more things. So, this fragile economic and consequently social environment provides important opportunities for social marketing to play a dominant social role. We all know that social marketing is or should be about bringing social change. So in this context, where we have citizens who are very frustrated and very angry about the current situation, social marketing could actually play a leading role to bring about social change by empowering people to question the status quo and stand critically against the things that happen around them and affect the future and their lives. So, social marketing should help to change the environment so that people could live a better life, a life of high quality, a life that they would love to live. To achieve this, social marketing should go beyond the individual. So we need to forget the individual and go on a community level and look at the social networks and the social factors that determines people's behavior. So the aim is to work together to develop those systems and those policies that will assure fair allocation and access to the resources that support and maximize citizens' well-being. In these communities, passive consumers could be turned into active citizens in order to achieve their dreams for a good life. So, my main point today is that social marketing should work on a direction of giving the people the power and the spark to rebel against those who undermine their health and well-being, even if these are governments or corporations, by, why not, creating social movements. Thank you very much.
Again, fantastic. Thank you both. Okay, I'm now going to open up for the last 10, 15 minutes, either specific questions to particular individuals or any generic questions you've got for the whole panel. So who wants to go first? Can we go here first, then here, then here. So can we have a mic down here? Could you just say whether the question is directed generally at the panel or at an individual? Thank you.
This is directed to the panel. My name is Stacy, and I'm from private sector with a background in sustainable business research. And there's been some talk about how social and environment are quite discrete, whether if it's in academic or practice. And I'm just wondering if you see an opportunity to bring it all together and have a more holistic view of sustainable communications or marketing and how that might come up in the next generation.
Okay, so just how we react to this, and we'll just go along the panel, one or two sentences. So Ariadne, do you want to go first? Do you want to react to that?
So your question was how we can bring together social?
People and planet and not necessarily distinct.
you don't have a view, it's fine. We'll just pass. Yeah.
I'll respond. I think the world is changing in such a way, and we're constantly facing new challenges, and one of that is the environment recently that has become sort of more precedented. So we've talked a lot about how social marketing can evolve, and I think in order for social marketing to evolve, we have to continue to bring global issues like the environment to the table as well, and move beyond health, because they not necessarily move beyond health, but work within health and other areas, because they all sort of function together.
Great, thanks. Yep, Lisa.
I think we're also very critical of ourselves here today about the results that we're achieving and whether one group is actually getting there. But we need to look at holistically that policy changes are affecting what we're trying to achieve. Upstream marketing is affecting what we're trying to achieve. Grassroots are trying to achieve. And a lot of us are working on the same issues, and I think we have to come at it from many different angles. Not one jack of all trades is going to create the change that we need, and I think to engage in the environment aspect, we need to accept and collaborate many different disciplines together in order to move forward.
Great. Thanks. Ross?
Yeah, I think this is a question about thinking and acting strategically, and sort of joined up thinking. Too often we're all working in silos when we can learn a lot from each other, and we're more powerful together. And I think that also we need to think about what are our priorities in our, our institutions and our systems. I'd like to see, for example, the marketing discipline to move towards more of a focus on marketing and how it impacts and relates to society, rather than the economic imperative being the overarching theme. Yes, economic, contribution is important, but really it should be because it contributes to society. So really it should be the social contribution that should be the focus in a lot of our disciplines and actions.
Yeah.
I would agree with everything Ross just said, but also reiterate the issue about silos. And I think if I understood you correctly, you were suggesting that social issues are dealt with individually, and in some cases they're not individual things. We know this from health. We know that alcohol and smoking are often linked. We know that alcohol and sexual health are often linked. And yet, if you think about how problems are often funded, funding happens for one specific project, and also publications. Research is driven by specific disciplines, and that's a problem. And I think interdisciplinarity or transdisciplinarity needs to reach beyond the solutions to also how we look at problems and see if there are is a more holistic way of interpreting the problems that we're facing.
Okay. Yeah. Zimana, do you want to comment? No, okay. Okay. We had a couple of other questions here. Yeah.
Yeah, hi, this is primarily for Jennifer, and to the other panel members. During the last couple of days, I've heard several presentations where they've talked about some kind of information that would raise awareness, that would trigger some behavior change that would be good for the individual and for society. And given the data that you talked about in Web 2.0 and the kind of information and access and what's the information cloud that's going on out there, what's your take on that as how successful we will be in the long run, that's a viable strategy, and what else do we need to think about?
I think there's example of success that's already happening on new media channels outside of social marketing. So I'll just use sort of one quick example is, and I'm sure we've all sort of experienced this before. There was one campaign that was actually done by Starbucks, which for one day they said, if you come into our store with your own coffee cup, and it was in an effort to promote environmental sustainability, and you show that you have checked in and that you have heard about this on social media, we'll give you free coffee. So it was a direct marketing campaign which focused on using social media to directly change behavior, and it was hugely successful. So I think it's not a matter of whether it will work. I think it's a matter of trying to figure out how we can actually achieve health-related behavior change or environmental behavior change in the moment events that can be sort of broadcasted on social media. I think another good example that we can look at is the Earth Hour campaign, even though that's sometimes questioned because it's only for sort of an hour an hour a year, it actually shows people engaging in behavior change in the moment, and it's all done sort of through social media and communicated that way. So.
Okay, we have 3 more questions lined up. There's one, I think there's one here. No? Okay, it's gone. We have two over here. Can we get my mic over here?
I was going to ask Ross if the panel is a representative gender sample. But
Ross Goulden is worth 5 women any time.
Thanks, I'll pay you later. But I thought that would be a bit flippant. So the serious question is, isn't social enterprise the future of social marketing? To the whole panel, or whoever wants to take that up.
I know there's a lot of debate by some people in social marketing about social movements and the importance of social movements, and I think that, yeah, that's bigger picture stuff, and I think strategically, maybe that's the way we need to look at how we engage with and involve ourselves in social movements as well, because to be honest, running a social marketing intervention isn't going to change the world, but social movements might have the possibility to do that. So we need to start thinking about how we interrelate with other disciplines and other, other phenomena.
Anybody else?
I was also going to say, I think if our citizens and individuals on the ground demand socially responsible products, eventually social I'm not saying it right, but anyways, eventually businesses will have to get on board with that, and we're seeing it happening. You're seeing more and more sort of organic foods out there, and there definitely has been a revolution in that area recently.
Okay. We've got 2 questions over here. We're going to go this way first of all. Yeah, in front row.
Thanks, Jeff.
Yeah.
Guys, it's time for the old people to kick back. Don't you guys think that while social marketing hasn't advanced its thinking enough, that the other disciplines that control and manage social marketing have not also advanced quickly enough? And I think there's a generation opportunity for young people to start challenging academia, bureaucracy, governments, etc., to change that.
Good point. Any reactions? Anybody want to comment? Yeah, Melissa?
I agree 100%, and I think that, again, I think we've been really critical here of ourselves, which is important, but I think that change takes time, as we all know, and we're starting to see it unravel. We're starting to see it move in that direction, and I think that we'll continue to see it, and that our generation hopefully will continue to push the boundaries, and you can see 6 of us up here that are willing to start doing that right away, so definitely.
I think as well, this isn't criticism for its own sake, it's actually critique and critical thinking. There's a difference. We're not saying this is everything that's wrong and it's terrible. We're saying, look, if we actually question and sort of deconstruct what we're doing, we can actually make things better.
Okay.
Sorry, following on from Richard's question, how are we going to attract younger, brighter talent to this industry? I think that's maybe where he was going, and make it sexy for the Generation Z that you're talking about. You need fine young minds. How are we going to get them?
Okay, let's get a reaction from everybody about that. How would you kind of sell this, working in this field, to somebody that you know? Zimana, do you want to go first? Yeah, the question is, if you were trying to persuade one of your friends to come and work in social marketing, how would you persuade them this is a good thing to do?
Of course, this is a good thing. That's why I came here. So if someone is a friend of mine, you definitely believe me.
Okay, so they trust you?
Yeah,
well, I would.
trust.
For sure, yeah.
For a friend, actually, but for someone else.
Okay.
Yeah.
I wouldn't necessarily sell social marketing to a friend, but I would sell the idea of social change, and I'd leave it up to them which approach they took. But I would emphasise my point, which is that the future is transdisciplinary, whether that means social movement, social enterprise, social marketing. I think we should obsess less about the discipline we come from and more about the goal we're trying to reach.
Yeah. I think we should try and, point out to people that social marketing is an opportunity to foster collectivism, and I think that that's something we need to move towards. This idea that we're all individuals and we act in individual choice, I think we need to move away from that. It's got us in a bad place at the moment economically and socially, and we need to work and get the power and strength of working together in the future. That's really where we need to focus.
Sorry, I'm going to speak really practically. I think there's a lot of us out there. I think there's a lot of young marketers, young people in business, young people moving up through the school system that are loving what they're learning, but they don't necessarily like the idea that they're selling soap or selling Coke, or that's the projects that they're working on in school, so they're organically finding it. And I think that as a discipline, we've seen the International Social Marketing Association come together, the work by Kathleen Kelly, where she's actually trying to find out who has social marketing programs across the world. So it's when can we build that awareness? When I Google master's program in social marketing, that 16 of them pop up, and I start to go through and choose through them, because the interest is out there. It's just actually publicizing it and getting those school programs available. I know when I wanted to do my postgraduate in social marketing, it took me a long time to find a program, a lot of research to find out where I could actually go and learn more about this. And then it's still, to this day, and that was 3 years ago, it's still, when I Google it, it's still hard to even pop up there, so.
Okay.
I'm just going to sort of build on this whole terminology of social marketing. I think if someone asked me for some advice, I would say take a look at social change. So I agree with sort of how Fiona described that. I think social change, there is a lot of different opportunities for us to impact social change in many different areas. Social marketing is one tool to do that, and there's a lot of different other tools that we can also use.
Okay, I think there are differences between countries and cultures. I have an example. I was in Greece 2 months ago, and I had a meeting with a professor of marketing there. And actually, I was there to talk about social marketing with him. And when I stepped into his office, he told me, okay, you are here to talk about this joke about social marketing. He thought that this is a joke, actually. So I think it's about, it's difficult if you want to convince young people that they have professors like that person who actually get inside the class and say, there is no such thing as social marketing. So I think if I was about to convince one of my friends, I would say that we have the power to create a better future, and this is what we all want at the end. But I think that we need to start changing our culture and the way that we think, especially people that are in the marketing field.
Okay, thanks for that. I mean, we've got people kind of queuing up for questions, but time is against us now. We need to kind of get some coffee and move into the next section. So first of all, can I thank you all for your questions and participation, but big thanks to the panel. Fantastic job. Thank you so much. And actually, it's a really interesting observation, not only to have some great people up here, there's a lot of young people in the audience as well. It's not all grey hair that I can see. So we've got a bright future, I think. Thanks again. Thanks again.